Send us your questions for OJ Hollingsworth. Live phone calls on the air, 613-789-6559, extension 2803, ottawa.morning at ctv.ca, or Facebook, CTV Ottawa Morning Live. Brenda Hollingsworth from OJ Hollingsworth is with us this morning. Insurance companies are insuring you against damages when it comes to an accident, insuring you if you're injured to take care of you monetarily. The only thing is they just don't like to pay. They really don't like to pay, and they have a bunch of excuses for why not. We're going to go over some of those excuses with you, Brenda. Okay. I think a lot of people have had good experiences with their insurance companies, but a lot of people as well. You hear about those nightmare stories about how it was really difficult to get, like it was like trying to get that cash out of them.
Yeah, and a lot of times this is the other person's insurance company, right? Your own insurance company should treat you more or less well for the no-fault benefits,
Right.
but when it comes to actually your pain and suffering and your lost wages, you're going after the other driver's insurance.
Right.
So they don't want to pay because you
Okay.
haven't paid them premiums.
Right.
So they don't want to pay, and they do come up with excuses.
All right, let's go over some of those. We're going to start off with pre-existing medical problems. What does that mean?
Right, so they'll say to you, well, I know you're claiming because you have a shoulder problem, but really that shoulder problem existed before the accident.
Okay.
So maybe they'll go back in your medical records, especially if you don't have a lawyer and you've given them all of your medical records.
Mm-hmm.
They'll go back to 1992, where you fell on your shoulder,
Okay.
and say, aha, the shoulder problems you're having in 2015 really started in 1992, so we're not responsible.
Okay.
If you don't have a lawyer, that's hard to answer.
Right. Well, you would say, then you would have to do all the legwork and get a doctor to say, no, that was completely healed, no problem whatsoever. I've been seeing them constantly. I think it's just easier to get my ducks in a row with you. And I think a lot of times an insurance company won't even try certain things knowing if you have legal representation.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame. I mean, sometimes there are cases where you should represent yourself because they're small,
Right.
and you don't want to. Frankly, you don't want to spend the money on legal fees because you don't need to.
Right. If you're trying to recover $800 or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you'll still face these excuses, and so it's
Okay.
important to sort of hear what the answers are.
How about this next excuse? And this one I think is explainable, but a lot of people might be at a loss. You've gone through a lot here. So they say, wait a second, you didn't complain about that at the scene of the collision.
Right. So a lot of people, and if you've had an accident, you know what we're talking about. At the scene, you often don't feel the pain.
Right.
Right? Your adrenaline's pumping, you're all worked up, you're worried, and then sometimes just physiologically things don't kick in for a couple of hours or even, 72 hours, couple days. And so that's not a real excuse.
Or something may hurt a little bit at the time and really increase in pain over time as well, right?
Right. And the other thing is the police don't always document it all, right?
Okay.
That's not their, if you're not dying, that's not their priority.
Okay.
Their priority is clearing the scene, making sure there were no criminal offenses.
Right.
So just because it's not in the police notes doesn't mean you don't feel it.
Sometimes you don't have a police report. What about that?
That's right. Well, exactly. So police report, it's always better if you are injured at all to call the police. And I know that the police say, oh, don't call us for minor accidents. They do not mean accidents where there's injuries, right? If your neck is sore, if your head is sore, you're allowed to call the police. So don't think you're not.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Brenda Hollingsworth from OJ Hollingsworth. We'll continue this in a moment as Ask the Expert continues. Excuses from those big bad insurance companies and how to beat them. Send us your questions for OJ Hollingsworth. Brenda is ready to go. Live phone calls on the air, 613-789-6559, extension 2803. Find us on Facebook, CTV Ottawa Morning Live. There's the email as well. Back in just a moment.